Hello, my friends. Another wonderful day in the Philippines. Hey, and this video is a podcast I did with Goldfinger down in Dumaguete. And you might want to watch this if you're new and thinking about coming here. He has a free ebook he can send to you. And it covers so many things about moving here, the cheapest way to ship things here, best way to find inexpensive flights, hotels, just about anything you can imagine about coming to the Philippines. He's been here for a couple of years. He's done a great job with it. So watch the podcast we did in his studio and find out how to get your free ebook. Anyway, check it out. Good morning, my friends. It's another wonderful day in the Philippines. I'm here today in Goldfinger Studio in Dumaguete, Negros Oriental.
Yes, you are. And guess what? I'm getting interviewed.
And you know what? This is his studio, so now he's over there all nervous, where usually the people nervous are in my seat.
Yeah, I'm like, oh God, what is he going to ask me? I have no idea.
But you know, Goldfinger has a special place in my heart. The first time I came to Dumaguete, I was here less than 24 hours. I'm sitting in a chair, having coffee, minding my own business. And here comes this guy with a smile on his face. Oh, you knew? I said, yes. He says, come on over. And I'm telling you, within probably 2 or 3 hours, I'd met about 6 or 8 just wonderful guys. And I mean, I'm so grateful. This is a result of his introduction, introduced me to all these people in Dumaguete that have such a positive feeling about this town.
Thank you very much. I'm glad I helped you out.
You did tremendously.
And I turned you on to somebody. You needed somebody for something specific. And I said, there is a guy that can help you out on that.
Well, there was a few people actually.
Yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah.
That worked out. So what are you going to ask me?
When you came here, what was your biggest surprise? When you landed in the Philippines, you heard about it, you watched all the videos, but what was the thing that you was most surprised by when you got here?
Well, I landed in Cebu. Actually, I landed in Manila, but I took a plane to Cebu in the middle of the morning, really early, and it's just only a 30-minute flight. So I was pretty tired when I got in Cebu because it was like 6 a.m. And I had been in Mexico for 2 years, so it reminded me a lot of Mexico. I wasn't too surprised about any of that. My biggest surprise was I went on Filipina Cupid. Okay, because everybody said, wait till you have your boots on the ground. So I finally said, was dying to, want to meet a girl. Okay, that was my purpose to come here, was to meet a girl, to be honest with you. It wasn't the language, it wasn't the food, it wasn't actually to save money, it was to meet a young girl. Okay, I had been divorced for several years, many years, lost my wife, so I figured, okay, I want to go there, I want to meet a nice young girl, because honestly, it was slim pickings in the US. Okay, it just was not working out. We won't go there, but I had some bad experiences. So I had went on Filipina Cupid. I paid the $50 for a month. I was tired from flying all night, and then I never got to any sleep at all for hours. And so I nearly pretty much knocked out about 5 or 6 p.m. Well, they got me in my room finally because I had to wait for it. In any case, I had talked to a few people before I fell asleep, maybe 6 to 8 girls, okay, that seemed interesting. All you do is a picture, but we text back and forth, and I didn't tell anybody where I just told them I'm new. In the information, I showed that I knew the Philippines. I just knew, and I'm honestly don't know the Philippines at all, and I might want somebody to help me show me around. And I didn't want to be too forward. Even that's a little too forward, believe it or not. And then I knocked out. I got up in the morning, got some breakfast. They had a restaurant in the hotel. I go back and there's a knock at my door. Now, this is pretty early. This is like 7:30, 7, a.m. in the morning. I'm thinking, God, it's kind of early to clean the room. I mean, I haven't, you know. So I open the door and there's this girl. And she goes, "Hi, this is, Joy." I said, "Hi, Joy. Like, what can I do for you?" 'Cause she doesn't have a cart. She's not cleaning. She says, "Well, you spoke to me yesterday." I go, "Okay, I don't remember. I'm sorry. I spoke to 6 to 8 girls. I'll be honest with you." I says, "I'm thinking about it." I says, "Weren't you on another island?" And she goes, "Yeah, I came over on the boat this morning." I said, "Well, how did you find me?" She says, "Well, you said you're staying on the island on, was it Mactan? You're staying on Mactan, and I just called around the hotels to ask for your name, and finally they said you were here." I says, and I'm like, my mind's going a million miles. Like, oh my gosh, she's cracked me down. Okay,
Stalking you.
and why would a hotel tell them what guests are staying? But maybe and I said, "Well, how did you know what room I'm on?" "Oh, I just went to the front desk and I said I'm a friend of Goldfinger and I just want to come upstairs." I see. Okay. She says, I really have to go to the bathroom. That's what she says. The first thing, I really have to go back. And I'm looking in my bedroom, okay, my hotel room, and the bathroom and the shower, okay, are all enclosed in glass. Okay, even the door is glass. It's not it's a separate room, but it's all glass. The walls are glass, the door is glass. And I'm thinking, okay, well, if I send her upstairs to the restaurant, I'd have to go with her, or something. That's a long ways away, and I really have to go. Okay, and if I take the key card out, it shuts all the power off in the room when you pull the key card. But if I leave her in the room and I don't have a key card, I can't get back in, and I have Filipino cash in my suitcase. I came over with like, I don't know, 20, 30,000 pesos, I think 30,000. So I'm thinking, okay, come on in and I'll just sit at the edge of the bed. I'm like, I don't even know where, I didn't, okay, Joy. So she walks in, she goes, it's all glass. So I go, yeah, I know. I'll just face the window. I'll sit at the end of the
I'll
bed.
face the mirror.
I'll face the mirror. I'll face the window. Okay. Which you could possibly face the window. It's a little tiny window off to the side, but I faced away from the. So I hear what I thought, because I really don't know it, but it sounded like, "That's not the toilet, that sounds like the shower." And I'm listening, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm serious." Now this is, and I says, "God, this sounds like the shower because it's running too long. It's not a toilet, it sounds like a shower." Next thing I see out of the corner of my eye, the glass door opens out and something gets thrown out. And I look to my edge, and I'm looking to the side, and I'm like, she says, "Wanna join me?" I think enough was said, okay? That was my shocking experience,
So much
okay?
for looking out the window.
Yeah, that was, and we spent 2 days together. I only was 1 night in Cebu, and then I came to Dumaguete. And the funny part is, when I woke up in the morning, I had 262 girls requesting, had 262 girls, okay? And then I have one literally at my hotel room, okay? And I bought her some shoes, and she had to go back home, and I gave her some money. I don't think she lived on another island. She asked me money for a hotel. I said, I'll book the hotel for you. She says, no, just give me the money. I'll book the hotel myself, because she didn't like the area. I was going to book the hotel, so I gave her a few thousand pesos. Um, but in any case, I remember my friend asking me back in the States, "Have you met anybody yet?" What do you say? Has anybody contacted you yet? It was like,
I was wondering if you came down with anything.
I was like, oh my God, where do you start? Where do you start? It was crazy. Uh, Literally had hundreds of responses. By the time I left Cebu, I was up to 400 or 500 requests for girls from all over, because I didn't say a location.
But you knew you were coming to Dumaguete.
I knew I was coming to Dumaguete. I already booked the flight over here, and from another 30 minutes, I was here, and I got a hotel, and I got a really nice hotel that I stayed at. I can't think of the name at the moment, but it was well furnished, air conditioned, but it was a ways away from the city, and I figured I'll just walk it, 2 kilometers in the sun. Okay,
Wow.
and I'd walked it, but on the way, I'm like dying of water. I didn't have water, and I had pesos and everything, but I wasn't sure about the language or anything. But I sat down on a low wall, and a lady came out of the house. And I thought, oh my gosh, she's going to tell me to get the hell off her property. No, she came over with a glass of water.
Wow.
And I don't even know who this was. It was a nice lady. And she says, "You look like you needed some water." I said, "I really do." I says, "This is a little further than I thought. I didn't realize it would get this hot." And that was a really nice experience. And you pretty much fall in love with the people. I mean, it's like stepping back in time.
You know, when they say that people are welcoming, it's not just they're friendly saying hello. It's like they're saying, come on over.
Yeah.
Welcoming,
And I
welcoming.
said to her, "I'm kind of lost because I've been walking for a while. I'm trying to find Ground Zero, a coffee shop." And she was going to walk with me there. And I said, "Well, how much further is it?" And she was like she said something, but I didn't understand what she had broken English, but it sounded like I said, "It's a 15, 20 minutes." She says, "No, it's about 30 minutes." And I'm going, "Okay, well, I'll find it. Don't worry about it." So I was like, "You're gonna walk with me and show me where it is? You don't even know who I am?" I was just really taken back. And that's the way they are here.
Yeah. You know, in a way that does not surprise me.
It
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 really doesn't.
it doesn't now.
Yeah.
They're overly friendly. I mean, almost to the point where you're like, what do you want me to pay you or something? You know how you have that attitude for you get from the
It's
States in the
very
city?
Western.
Yeah. So you have this attitude like, what are they after?
Yeah.
What's the con?
Yeah.
What's the gate? No, there is no gate. It's just the way they are. They
Yeah.
just are really friendly, nice
Their
people.
mind is not expanded to the point of even having those kinds of thoughts, you know?
They're not mean.
No.
They don't have uh, other objectives or anything like that. They're just nice. People were helping me upstairs. People were
And
opening
young
doors for
people.
me. Yeah, young people. And I had to go up a lot of steps. I don't remember what it was, but I had to go up a lot of steps for something. And people would come on both sides of me and help me up the steps. And I felt like, am I that old? I
Out
looked
of the
that
middle of
terrible.
nowhere.
Yeah, just don't even know who they are. And I said, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And they spoke English, which was pretty good. Most Filipinos speak English. The younger age
But the
speaks.
younger age people respect
Oh yeah,
age.
oh yeah. They respect age. You go first. You get in line, and if they see your old. Actually, they have lines at stores, banks, uh, and everything else, which is a senior or pregnant
Says priority.
priority line, and they don't go in there because it's shorter. They don't. They respect that. Okay. In fact, if someone young gets into that line, the cashier will say to them, "This is for," and they'll
Right.
say it in Filipino if
Yeah.
they're Filipino. "This is for seniors," or blah blah blah. But very rarely will they do it. And I've gone in lines where there's long lines, and I'm like, "Oh my God, this is gonna take forever." And the people who see what's behind me, they let me go forward
Yeah.
to the front, and they literally go back around.
Age, you know, in the West, we're just kind of like, you know, waiting to die somewhere. And here, people will go out of their way to help you out.
So it was very. I mean, people stop for you when you're crossing the street. They don't run you down. Um, they let you go in first. They it just was like, wow, this is like Shangri-La. I was taken back,
Yep.
taken back. It
And
was,
the one thing that for new people coming that I say don't worry about it, like if you're a Makati, for example,
mm.
just go out walking. If you get lost, call a Grab or hail a taxi, give them the address where you're going, and boom, they'll take you there. You don't have to worry so much about being lost. You want to go to ground zero when you get to the Dumaguete, you see a trike going by, flag them down, say ground zero. They all know where it is. They'll drop you there.
Yeah, I took a few. Well, of course, obviously, I took pedicabs. The very first time, with tricycles or pedicabs, whatever you want to call them, trikes.
Yeah.
But and they're a little bit rough because I'm a big guy, and they're made for little Filipino people, but they're not made for us big, heavy Americans.
Well, you haven't seen the ones in my town. In Anglo City, you would not get in or out.
Yeah, I saw one with the rough floors rusted through, and I'm thinking if I step in that, my foot's going through it.
Yep.
They're pretty bouncy. They're pretty ragged. They're rough. They're rough. They don't take care of them. They have no suspension.
The ones that are small, I can't get in. I just can't.
It reminded me of the Fred Flintstones
Yeah.
vehicles because every time I got in it, I thought for sure it was going to tilt.
When you get in and that kind of
It
sinks.
goes down. When I'm buying it, it literally tilted because I'm kind of heavy. So I'm thinking Fred Flintstone is just going to go. It's just going to go on right over on the side. I was like, what the heck are these things? And I was giving them. I watched what other people paid, and they were paying 15 pesos for a ride into town. And I thought, That's doesn't seem like I'm because I don't know what you're supposed to pay them, and they don't always speak English. So I was giving them 20 pesos, and they seemed very happy.
Yeah.
20 pesos is 40 cents. Um, are you kidding me? Even in Mexico, they charge more than $1 for a ride. They don't care how.
You know, let's say that Mexico is 50% of America, just as an example.
Uh,
Okay. Well, the Philippines is like 50% of Mexico.
yeah, it is cheaper here.
Yeah.
That was also shocking. Of course, you have to be careful because you have to think about where you buy food. And I do remember when I first got here, I bought from some questionable vendors on the street, and I got ill. Okay,
I never have.
you never have. I have a couple times, so I don't do that. I don't buy from vendors on the street because they keep, and it's the same thing in Mexico. They keep the food from the previous day. They don't think of refrigeration too much unless you go to the big markets. They don't have refrigeration, especially in small carts or small stores. Same as Mexico. So
I've never had a problem.
never had a problem. That's good. And you don't drink the water. So do you drink?
It kind of happens now. I don't drink out of the tap. No.
No,
I drink bottled water.
I drink bottled water too, but they have service water here. So if you have some service water, that means it's the big bottle, and they'll give
But
it
I
to you.
never drank in San Diego out of the tap either.
No, no, okay. Well, I used to drink tap water. You know, I grew up drinking tap. We used to drink
Well,
from
when
a
you grow
hose.
up, but then
I
by
drink
the
from
time
a rubber hose. I mean, come on, give me a break. We didn't go in the house and say I wanted bottled water. We didn't have bottled water when I was a
the
kid.
hose, yeah. But I
Yeah.
mean, in Oregon and some of these places, the water just wasn't. It wasn't bad in those days. Not that
Yeah,
we
that's
knew of.
true.
You know.
I always drank tap water. Then this scare came up in the last 15, 20 years that they're adding additives to the water.
Well, San Diego water is just. It's not that good tasting.
Because they add things to it. So they chlorinate it, which is okay. Okay, it gets rid of the bacteria. But then they add what is it? What they add for the teeth, for the enamel? They add, I forgot what the name of it is. You guys will come up with it, but I don't remember what it is. They add something for your
Fluoride.
fluoride. They add
Yeah.
fluoride, which you find in toothpaste. So and that gives it a bad taste, to be honest with you. And sometimes it's hard water.
San Diego is very hard water.
Yeah.
I think.
And hard water has a lot of minerals, so it doesn't taste very good. Where
Reminded me of
bottled water is filtered.
the desert when I lived out in Palm Springs,
Yeah.
La Quinta area.
Yeah, oh, you live approximately. Yeah, I lived out that in the desert also. So, yeah, hard water comes from wells, and it doesn't taste very good. It's
So
got
we
a
always
lot of,
drink bottled water instead of the hard water.
but it's not really bad for you because the minerals are actually good
Right.
for you. It just doesn't taste as good
Right.
as, you know, uh, filtered water through a carbon filter or whatever the
Right.
reverse osmosis. In any case, what were we talking about before that? I'm sorry, got off on water. Who knows, right? But so the food prices were very. So I ordered food, and it's like, and I'm having trouble with the exchange, the confusion. Now I got to tell you a story about the confusion was I sometimes overpaid way too much because you get confused between the pesos and the
It says
dollars.
150 pesos, you give them 1,500.
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, stuff like that happens, and they look at you funny, but they take it, of course. But my friend Orville, who was here,
I remember Orville.
84.
Yeah.
So he got his story. He told me he went to the airport and he took a taxi because they have taxis. We don't have taxis. We do not have taxis in Dumaguete, but they have taxis in Manila. And he went to a hotel and the taxi, and the guy told him it was 15, and he gave him 1,000 peso bills, 15,000, not thinking what the exchange is. And I said, okay, you made that guy's 2 months. Okay, that's 2 months worth of income. Seriously, it probably was, I don't think he wanted 15 pesos, but I don't think so. But uh, I don't know how far it was. I mean, I
In
doubt if it
Manila,
was
it probably
50.
was 1,500.
I doubt that, but he did say it was a long trip. He did say it was a lot of traffic in Manila.
1,500 with a quasi guy in Manila would not surprise me.
Maybe he was going to take advantage of it and ask for 1,500.
Yeah.
But he just said 15.
Yeah.
And he gave him 1,000 peso bills. It was something close to that. And it was like, oh, what? And then he realized
I don't
later.
have good experience with taxis in Manila.
Yeah, he probably wanted 1,500, but he got 15,000.
Grab for sure. Just get a Grab. It'll tell you how much it's going to cost you
Right.
before
Right on your
you have
phone.
to agree to it.
Yeah. And then you can set up appointments and everything else, just like Uber. It's just like Uber. Actually, I think it's partly
I think it's
owned.
the same, just different.
I
country.
think they have a partnership,
Right.
so with Uber. So, and yeah, that's a lot safer to pay that way. I did in Cebu, went on the back of a motorbike once. Big mistake. Uh, I said, "Do you know where this hotel is?" "Oh yeah, I know where it is." Well, it was only about 10 minutes away, and I was waiting for a car for a long time. And he goes, "Hey, I have my motorcycle's right here. I can take it right now." And I'm waiting. And I'm like, "No, I'll wait for a cab in Cebu. They have cabs." And no cabs were coming. I was leaving the mall, and I didn't really want to walk. It was just so hot. And he said, "Oh, I think it'll be really quick." He says, "I have a helmet." Okay, well, of course, you're putting on a helmet that 100 different people have worn. Okay, that's the first mistake. Okay, it smelled. I could smell the sweat. Yeah, but that was my first mistake. I was like, I should just let's give him the money, let him go away. No, I didn't. Went on the back of this. This guy was going in between literally cars, bumper to bumper, where if you put your feet out, you'd hit the car.
Oh, absolutely.
He was going up on the curb. I'm saying, I think you're missing my hotel because I think you were supposed to turn back there. Okay. And he, yeah. While he continues on in the wrong way. Okay. Finally, he was driving in the gutter, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die on this motorbike. Okay, I'm on the back of this motorbike. I'm gonna die, or break a leg." So finally, luckily, he got a flat tire because he was driving in the gutter and he hit a glass bottle, broken glass, and he got a flat tire. And so he pulls over, and I get off, and I don't remember how much I gave him, but I gave him a lot more than I needed to because I could have taken a cab for 150 pesos. I ended up giving him 200. I said, I'm sorry, you have a flat tire. You fix your tire. I'll walk the rest of the way. And I had to walk back from the way we came, more distance than if I just walked from the mall to the hotel. I had to walk further from where he finally stopped because I couldn't get this guy to stop. I kept saying, stop, stop. You're passing by a hotel. I know, I know. Oh, God. So I didn't have a good experience with grab on a motorcycle.
Yeah, I remember I was at this little town. You have to get there by the only way you can get there is by boat.
Oh, really? By boat?
And then if you cross, it's the Katubik, Northern Samar. But if you cross on this bridge and you go on the other side, they have these little bikes, and I can't remember what they call them. It's not ukai. It's anyway. So I had to ride those, and it made me nervous. And it's the so width of a sidewalk, and there's people coming, and they'll have 4 or 5 people on a motorcycle, and then those people coming the other way. They share this
Very
sidewalk,
narrow.
4 feet
It's
maybe,
4 feet. That's true. And they're passing in opposite
and they're
directions.
not even slowing down. It's,
No, they don't. They drive. Okay, the motorcycles here. I've done a couple. I did a live about motorcycles. I also did a video on motorcycles. It's another experience. I never drove a scooter. A scooter is obviously like automatic. It's not a shifting motorcycle, but it is, and it's a lot easier to ride a scooter because you're not shifting. You don't have to think about all that at the same time. There's no clutch. It's automatic. But I never rode a motorcycle. I always had a quad, 4 wheels on the ground. My sons rode motorcycles, so I used to take them out in the desert, but not me. Okay, I have good balance, but I couldn't get the clutching thing right. I down clutch instead of up clutch or whatever I did, wrong gears and stuff like that, and end up getting hurt. So I never did it. So and my dad didn't like me wearing it. He always forbid me to have a motorcycle. He says it's a death trap. You can't. So that was ingrained from childhood. But when I came here, I'm going, okay, I can't do pedicabs or trikes anymore. This is just ridiculous. And I didn't like uh, the bus, the short buses. What do they call them? The
jeepney.
jeepney. I didn't like the jeepneys. They look too crowded. I don't like being right next to people. I don't know if they've had a bath. I don't trust their reaching in my pockets or things like that. I've heard all kinds of crazy things. Who knows? But I didn't like they hang off the back of the jeepneys. I mean, and I couldn't figure out how to get them to stop and pay them. Like you just shout out stop, or I couldn't figure it out.
When you're in a jeepney, you hand the money to the person next to you, and they just pass it up, and you're
How do you get
changing
them
them
to
out.
stop?
Parapo,
What is
parapo.
para? Po?
Yeah,
Po is a man, a
para would mean
boy.
stop. Po is just like being respectful.
Be para. Okay, para po. I didn't know. And I'm like, okay, I get it, but how do I know which direction he's going in?
Well, that's the thing. I mean,
I mean, are you going downtown? I want to go to ground zero. You know, they don't do that. They go to a specific market area.
right. And it's kind of like going to a neighborhood. So with the ones that I get on, I just walk out the highway, hop on them. They go to where I go to the end of the line, which is the public market.
Yeah, that's the thing. And if you stay on and you don't get off, you're going to go all the way back making rounds with him.
Well, in some cities, like if you're going to go to Darwin,
Uh,
okay, the purple one goes to Darwin, the orange one goes to Valencia.
how do you know that? Who's going to explain that? I
Well,
have to
that's
ask.
yeah.
You have to
You
ask.
have to. It's part of
And
learning
I
this.
was kind of shy,
It's part of
but
learning.
I'm not
Yeah,
as shy anymore, obviously, but I was kind of shy when I first got
but
here.
it's part of learning when you get here.
Yeah.
And when you figure it out, I had a car when I first got here,
Mm.
and I was in the province. The car broke. It was a Mercedes. You couldn't get parts for it. On and on. So I'm waiting for these guys, and one day the guy's an hour late, and I go, you know what? Screw him. When he gets here, I'm going to say no. Too late. And then he's going to waste his time coming to get me instead of. And then 2 or 3 minutes later, I go, you know what? I don't have to do that today. I'm freaking retired, and I can do it whenever I want to do it. If I don't want to do it today, I don't want to do it tomorrow. I'll do it the next day. That was a major turning point in my life because I went from type A person,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that was that moment in time when I look back and go, that was the time that I started to chill.
I find every once in a while we were talking about scooters. Anyway, I learned how to ride a scooter. I got a 125. I rented it for a month, and it didn't seem very difficult to ride. It's just you just put your feet down because the 125 is small, it's short to the ground. It's not overwhelming. When you start getting up to a 160 or larger, they're pretty heavy, and there's no mistakes. But a 125 is very nimble, so anybody could ride a 125. So I learned how to ride here on a scooter, not a motorbike. But
You have a motorbike now, though, right?
I have a scooter. I have a
Okay,
160 scooter. I do not know how to shift.
I got you.
I don't know the manual. I'm sure it's not that difficult, but
I saw you on it. It just seemed bigger than a
it's a
125.
it's bigger than a 125.
Yeah,
It's a 160, so it's a PCX. And I like the NMAX too, which is the 155. I like those two bikes. Of course, I have a bunch of bikes out there. Carolyn rents bikes, and I help her out with it. And we mostly rent to foreigners that come here, expats.
right.
Filipinos don't know how to take care of a bike, and they're really rough on them. So Carolyn told me we are not renting to Filipinos or Filipinas. But it's her business. She says no, no rent to the Filipinos. And I did it once, and it was a big mistake. They took the mirrors off. Yeah, because that was wind resistance. They took the light bulbs out of my rental bike because that's using up too much gas. They took the top box off and left it in their apartment. And when they returned it, they didn't have the top box. So I had to go back to their place and get it and drive them back to their apartment so I could get my top box, which is, it was around 7,000 pesos. So, it's more than $100, uh, uh, right? Yeah. So 5,600 is $100. Is that right?
If you're going to ride a motorbike to, say, Bacolod,
Ah,
now would you do it on your 160?
how many hours is it?
6?
On a straight through run, no. If I could stop one, obviously I can do stops, but I mean, if I could stop and spend the night and do 3 hours and 3 hours, yes. But I have never done that. I've never done a 6 hour. The most I've done is a 2 hour trip, maybe 2.5 hours. And that was pretty tiring, I'll be honest with you.
So it's tiring and to the point where you would stop because you're getting distracted easily,
I want water. I want food. I need to use a bathroom. Those kind of
tired of the
creature.
vibration.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Especially if you're on a small bike. 125 does not ride the highway very good. A 160 ADV is better for highway long runs.
So you'd never really ridden a motorcycle till you got here. You started on a 125. You got accustomed to that, and then you went to the 160.
Right away. I went
Yeah,
to a bigger bike right away.
bigger one.
I've tried a friend's, and I liked both the NMAX and the PCX. I settled for a PCX because I actually rented it and ended up buying it
Yeah.
from a friend of mine who rents bikes. He's Filipino and he rents bikes, and I rented it and I said, I like this, and he said, do you want to buy it? And I go, yeah, I'll buy it. After a couple of months, I said, yeah, I'll buy it. Um, the rental business is a whole nother story. I kind of fell into it and put her in business.
Yeah.
Somebody owed me money
I
real
figured it might
quick.
have been something like that along
Somebody
those
owed
lines.
me money. I gave someone a lot of money for medical because they didn't have insurance. They got into an accident on a chariot, which is a three-wheeled.
I know what those are.
I
Yeah.
know you do, but our guests
It's like
probably
a
don't.
three-wheel dump truck kind of thing.
Yeah, it can have passengers or it can haul a lot of stuff. They use them for business for hauling boxes and stuff. But it's a three-wheeled thing.
Have you seen videos of Vietnam and Thailand? You've seen one.
They take the back wheel off and attach it to a fairly good sized cart, which has a single axle with two wheels.
Yeah.
So that's why you're three wheels. And they changed it so the drive is going to the back wheels, in uh, uh, through a shaft, through a,
Yeah.
whatever you call it, crankshaft. Anyway, where was it going? Oh, he got into an accident with that, and he actually had a stroke, I think, blacked out, went into a rut, hit a person. He didn't have insurance. They impounded his chariot, and he had to pay for not only his medical, but the other person, the Filipino worker's medical, and he had to be out of work because he had a broken leg. So they wanted him to pay for his time off of work. That was a bad position. He didn't have always get insurance, especially liability
I
insurance.
heard a story of a guy here. I'm not sure it was Dumaguete, but he was a retired police officer.
Mm.
He got in an accident with a Filipino, not his fault. And the Filipino police came. They determined it was not the foreigner's fault,
Oh,
but they said, would you give him a couple of thousand anyway? And we'll just call it a day. So the guy gave the Filipino guy a couple of thousand and the cop goes, I see the rationale because I'm involved with this guy, even though it's his fault, but he's got nothing and he's never going to have anything again ever.
yeah.
And so I kind of like just here's some money, go away, and because I've got the money and I'm going to have more money next
Well, that's
month
the
and
way
the
it
month
is
after
here.
the month after.
And I explained that in a video I did too.
Did you?
I paid, I had to eat it. I had to eat the cost of the repair. The girls didn't have any money. They hit me. It was their fault. They insisted upon calling the cops.
Thing is, if you get here and you're in that situation, you can get upset or you can not get upset. And it's one of the negative things about being here. But I think that you and I both agree the positives far outweigh the
You
negatives.
don't want to get upset. You don't want to raise your voice. You don't want to scream at them or shout at them. I was bleeding. I was banged up. I said, well, you know what? I have medical. Things happened. Okay, the girls made a U-turn on a one-way street. Didn't pay attention. Didn't look. Hit the back of me. Their bike was fine. They were fine. I have damage on my bike, and I just told them, hey, well, it's going to be 2,500 pesos. We actually checked on the price of we were right across from the Honda shop. So I said, would you go across the way and tell me how much it's going to be for this panel? And I says, well, just pay me for the panel and I'll pay for the labor to install it. And don't worry about me. I'll get fixed up. I'll heal. And they didn't have 2,500. So they insisted upon calling the cops. They call the cop. Okay. And other people who were witnesses told them, I could tell by what they're saying in broken English and Visayan, that the girls made a U-turn. It's their fault. And I said, yeah, it's their fault. He said, sir, they're both, these are two girls on a 110. And they had some cigarettes and candy. It looks like they were reselling it in the school. And he says, they don't have any money. They're going to school. They have no money. I says, okay, do they have 2,000? No, sir. I says, do they have 500 pesos? And he goes, they talk, blah, blah, blah. They pulled out 500. I says, we're fine. I said, they have to pay something. It wasn't the 500. It's not like I need 500. What is that, 8.5, $9 USD? But it's just that they were in the wrong. And I just kind of felt, I actually offered them, I offered them, I says, I just moved in here. And I said, I have work at a house. I have weeds to be pulled. I have paint to be done and things like that. If you want to come over and work, of course they don't know me, but if you want to come over and work, you can work off the 2,500. Just give me a couple days, both of you painting or something. But they denied that because they said they have school. I says, well, then just give me the 500. And I ended up paying, oh, cost me 2,000 more for the panel and probably about 500. I haven't got it yet. Still
Well,
waiting for it.
bottom line is the police say they want you to do something, you kind of got to do what they say.
Well, he just said, their school, they don't have much money. And I says, and then he was very nice. The police was very fair with me. He says, sir, are you happy with that? And I said, I'm perfectly fine. Now I'm bleeding. I've got road rash. I'm in pain. I'm still shaking. And I said, can you just help me across the street to the Honda shop? And can you ask one of the Filipino people to roll my bike over there? I says, because I need to sit down and get my blood pressure down because I was shaking. I was pretty upset. And they came out from the store that happened right in front of the store, and they brought me a chair. And I'm telling you, it's different here. They brought me a chair and a glass of water and asked me if I needed anything. And one lady started to put a wet rag on the road rash. I don't even know who they were. They came out of a laundry shop, not a laundry, a hair shop that I've never been to or ever used. But I I brought the chair back to them, and I brought them back the glass, and I thanked them. But this is the way they are here. They're very nice.
It reminds me of the way things were when I was a child
Yes, exactly.
in the 50s
It's literally
in a small town.
50 plus years back. It's in some cases 75.
And it's just common sense kind of things that I mean, you don't get involved because you don't want to be sued because the rag you put on somebody caused some kind of whatever. And here they don't have,
They don't have that.
people don't sue each other. They don't
They
have those
talk to
same,
each other. They don't
yeah.
think they'll help you. They don't even have to know you.
And that's the part of the welcoming things. It's like literally it's welcome, it's not just welcoming being nice. Welcoming means like literally.
Oh, they'll invite you in your home and feed
Yeah.
you. I mean, they don't know who you are or
That's
anything.
welcoming.
That's crazy,
And
but
it didn't even occur to me as many times as I've heard the Philippines is welcoming that they would welcome you
uh,
into that. Yeah.
that's
It
what's
literally means
that's why
welcome.
I'm saying, man.
Yeah.
It is inexpensive to live here, but it's the people that make the difference.
I came for the scenery and those kind of things, and I think it's the people that get you to stay
Yeah,
and want to be part
I
of it.
honestly came for the girls. That's what I did.
Yeah.
I'd seen pictures of other videos of Rick Hay and Paul and the young girls that they were getting. And I'm going, oh, I would like a young, sweet person to be by my side. Carolyn's 34. I didn't want a 20-year-old or a 5-year-olds. We're not going to go there. But I felt there would be nothing in common. But Carolyn's very, very smart. Okay. She knows more about things than I do, worldly and math. Okay. I'm shocked because I'll ask her how to spell this and how to spell that in English, and she knows better. Or she'll start talking about sub, pronouns and nouns and stuff like that. I don't know.
I don't know it either.
Yeah. And she'll say, no, you can't say it that way. You have to say it this way. And she'll change it. But she's a tutor. She was a teacher, so she's a tutor. And math, she teaches kids, and kids here in elementary are doing algebra. Okay. They actually don't have a middle school. So it's elementary and then it's high school. Okay.
A friend of mine was a school teacher in Horak, and I told her the average eighth grader doesn't read at eighth grade level. The percentage of kids that graduate, I don't think she'd believe me that it could be that bad in
If you
America.
go into a private school, there's Chinese private schools.
Yeah.
And the level of education is way higher, even so. I'm impressed by the public education, but the private schools they have here, of course, they'll want you to speak Chinese. That's just part of it.
They don't do DEI here.
No.
It doesn't confuse the kids with,
But they'll learn 3 languages. They'll learn their native language,
Visayan, they'll leave Tagalog, and then they'll learn English.
and Chinese.
I went to an eighth grade graduate or a 8-year-old's graduation, I guess it was second grade or whatever. And the first person that spoke was the vice principal of the principal. Spent 20 minutes talking in English.
Yeah. Well,
only.
When I went past the schools in the morning, when they at 8 o'clock in the morning, everybody goes outside and they have a Filipino flag and an American flag, and they do a Filipino national anthem and they do an American national anthem. I was taken back, and they all have, just like in the old days, hand over the heart, and they're speaking English, and it's like, oh my God, I haven't remembered that from when I was a child. I remember that as a child, that at a certain time the flag would be raised up the flagpole, and no matter where you were, you faced the flag, put your hand over your heart, and gave a pledge of allegiance.
Yeah.
And they do that here.
And it's like it was when we were kids.
That's why I'm here. That's why I stay. You're right. That's why I stay.
60 to 80 or in there, it's going to be like where you came from back in the day.
Yeah, I know. That's awesome. Most people I meet come here. They either come back on a regular basis and they go back and forth, or they celebrate. They go home, sell everything off, and they come here permanently.
Yeah.
And the good part is they found someplace that they feel welcomed and comfortable. The bad part is it is changing the Filipino culture.
So many, I talk about this a lot on my channel. There's so many people that are thinking about but people talk about,
they don't.
Oh, the kidnapping, these are the never been here experts. And I said,
none of that doesn't happen.
According to the Philippine National Police, there was 20, as in 20, kidnappings in the Philippines, all the Philippines in 2023. In America, there were thousands. There's 100,000 kidnappings in America, but so many of those are with the stepfather and the stepmother taking the kid. But there's thousands of kidnappings there. It's much safer here than it is in America.
It is safer here.
And I came from a really
it's
nice
not
city.
perfect. It's nothing perfect, but people like to dwell on negative. But honestly, the positives way outweigh the negatives here.
The people that dwell on the negatives are people that are not going to be happy, and it does not matter where they are. It doesn't matter.
No.
They just got a bad attitude, and that's the reason they're not happy.
The shame of it is I deal with a lot of with the ebook that I put out. I deal with a lot of older expats. They're typically over 50, mostly 60 and up, and they're afraid to go outside their comfort zone. They just are. They're afraid to take a chance because, what if this, what if that, what if that, and they never make it. And I'm going to say 1 or 2 out of 10 get over here.
What I tell them is, if you just cannot handle the culture shock, go to Makati, because you're going to see little or no culture shock. The largest Louis Vuitton store I ever seen was there.
Really?
Yeah.
Louis Vuitton, Makati.
Huge.
Really?
Huge. I mean, it's a 2,000 square foot Louis Vuitton store, bigger than San Francisco, LA,
mall?
Beverly Hills, or San Diego.
Is it in a mall?
The mall is 2 kilometers long. There's 2,000 stores.
Kilometers long.
Well, it's a almost, it's a mile long. There's 4 different shopping centers. They're all interconnected with a walking bridge, which is above street level and covered for rain. There's 2,000 stores in these malls.
Oh my goodness.
Blueberry, Louis Vuitton. I mean,
Yeah, I've never seen
on
it
and
here.
on and on.
Yeah, Duma's pretty quiet.
Just Dumaguete is nothing compared to there. Neither is
I wish we had
really Anglo
a few
City.
more fast food places here, but American style fast
I
food
was in
places, but doesn't
BGC,
happen.
and we go into this place, and they give you these little pork things, and then you have the endless sides. Like there's 5 sides or 6 sides, and then they bring them as off you want. For 2 of us, with senior discount, it was 380 pesos.
I
That's
know.
for dinner.
If you want to come here and experience that, the Sizzler, it's the next street over from
Yeah.
Ground Zero. It's on Silliman Avenue.
Yeah.
So just letting you know, you'll be shocked. You can get pork steaks, 2 of them with unlimited rice, vegetables, okay? And it's 199 pesos.
And people say you have to have
$4, not even.
3,000 pesos to live in Makati. You do not. You
Mm.
do not. And I looked at apartments. I went out looking at apartments. There's a penthouse for $800. It's about 1,100 square foot. It's got there's probably 4 little houses on the units on the top of this. It was a 29th store in the Greenbelt area of Makati.
Mm.
And you can look out, you can see BGC, you can see all these areas. And I mean, this is in the good side of Makati. It was 800 a month. And then the other units in the same building were like 15 to 18,000 a month.
Well, I mean, yeah,
Mm.
I took on a tour around this house. I can't get something like this back in Las Vegas or Los Angeles or anywhere. And I'm paying less than 600 US dollars a month, 35,000 pesos. This
Dumaguete
is
is
a
on the
big
expensive
place.
side of anywhere I've ever been in the
Dumaguete
Philippines.
is a little bit more expensive, but it's still a lot cheaper
Absolutely.
than the US.
100%.
But
100%.
I can't get an apartment for $600 anymore.
A studio apartment in San Diego was about, when I left, was running around 15 to 1,700 a month. And that's not the pretty side of town.
Yeah.
And at the time, the average Social Security was about the same amount. And so I could not afford to live in San Diego any longer. I had to leave, and unless I wanted to live in a van down by the beach.
I was at a friend's house and the friend said, I wish you would find an apartment. I was, because the friend wanted his privacy, but he had multiple bedrooms, but it's okay. I understood. It was supposed to only be there for 2 or 3 months. And then I was going to take off and go, leave for Mexico or something like that.
Boys, yeah.
Yeah. And basically I went to go look for places and I'm just looking to rent in a condo, a bedroom with one shared bathroom, downstairs. It's not mine. And, I've never shared a refrigerator or a stove. It seemed like it's kind of weird, okay? Because I'm a clean nut, kind of picky, I know. And that was going to cost me over 1,000 US dollars. The cheapest one I found was 900, and it literally was a hole in the wall and no furniture.
And then if you want a car, like in California, you have to smog it. You've got to register it.
Oh,
You
it's
got
too
to pay
expensive.
insurance. Forget
They
about it.
don't have that stuff here. They do have registration, but they don't have smog. And technically, you don't have to have insurance. That's the crazy
You can
part.
get a little. Well, you get the insurance, but the insurance you can get liability for 50
Cheap.
to $100.
50.
You can get a
Yeah.
little owner type Jeep that's probably going to cost you less than 2,000, and it's going to run you all over the place. A little 4-cylinder diesel. I mean, it's so simple here.
Yeah, I get 200,000 pesos worth of coverage on a bike for under $5
Yeah.
for a year.
Yeah.
For under $5 US for a year.
I mean, the purpose of my channel is because my experience is so much different than everybody else's.
Well, you live on a very low, your overhead's extremely low.
My overhead is extremely low. I spend more than that because I travel, I do all these things. But the minimum budget, the reason I do mine the way it is because you can always add on if you go golfing twice a week. You can add on if you go have $3 cups of coffee 6 times a week. I mean, you can add on to all these things, but what is your basic? What's your basic budget? Mine was actually is under 600 a month. And that means
That's pretty low. That's 6.
I go to the public market, beef or pork, you're talking 350 pesos per kilo. So let's say that's 300, that's $3.50
Good for 3
a
meals.
pound.
Yeah. 3 or 4 meals.
How much can you eat in a day? Okay.
Yeah.
You want to eat 4 pounds of vegetables in a day? It's going to cost you
But
$4.
you're extremely frugal. I wouldn't say that people can come over here and live on 600.
Look, if
I
you're
know
looking
you
at
are, but
if you're looking at living in your kid's garage or on the street, you can be pretty happy here in about 600 a month. Now, obviously, I spend more than that because I'm fixing up my little house. I fly an airplane to Bacolod. I kind of bust down from it, and I'm staying in hotels here and I do what I do. But if you just want to know what are the basics, and you can say, well, okay, so I'm going to go eat dinner out. That's $10 on average going out. So that's you add on 4 times a week, and then you can figure out what your budget would be. But you're adding on. People have a lot of these got these budgets, and
do you have a budget video that you put out?
yeah. What I did is I went down to the public market and I asked them what's the price of all these vegetables, the meat, the
Well, the
fruit.
public market's a lot cheaper than going to Robinson's, that's for sure.
And then you go to the hypermarket, which is like an SM, and you can see what it is there. They have swordfish, they have
Oh
marlin.
yeah, Carolyn brings back shellfish and shrimp, giant shrimp, and she says she'll pay 300 pesos a kilo. I go, are you serious?
Yeah,
300 pesos, so that's $5. Okay,
you
she
can
pays
get
$5 for 1,000 grams, which is over 2 pounds of shrimp,
for
giant.
less than the price of a Big Mac.
And I'm like, oh yeah, honey, keep buying that shrimp, because she goes down there and she goes, I mean, they're really big shrimp. I mean, you would pay a fortune for that. And she cooks it with garlic and butter. It's to die for.
Fish, no matter what kind of fish you get, pretty much, and it's still flopping around. I mean, we live on islands here. I mean,
Lots of seafood.
yeah, and fresh. It's under 200 pesos a kilo.
Yeah, I like bangos myself. That's my favorite. And you can get it. They already take all the bones out, fillet it,
Yeah.
and it's cheap. It's so cheap.
And if you don't mind cooking, I mean, you can eat till
You could cook here and
bust
save a lot of money.
a ton.
Going out to restaurants is going to cost you definitely more money.
But you got your basic, and you can always add on top.
Right.
You want to go diving? Okay, so you add that on top of the 600. You want to do air flight? Okay, you add that on top of the 600. You do all these things. You add it. You build your budget out from there. But to know what your basic is, and you're living in your kid's garage or on the street, I mean, it's not hard to figure out what
If you live in the province, it's a lot cheaper than Dumaguete. That's for sure.
Angeles City is cheaper than Dumaguete.
Angeles City's cheaper. Yeah, well, you've traveled a lot, so you know.
I would say Dumaguete's right up there with is almost as expensive as Makati.
Is it really?
Yeah, almost.
Mm.
But
Doesn't
Dumaguete,
sound as nice as Bacardi, though.
if you could just look on Facebook and you just go to Marketplace, you will see the rents are higher here than almost anywhere. Baguio,
It's the problem is we have a lot of people coming in, vloggers like me, Paul, Mike, Philippines, the adventure. Gio used to be here. All of us, unfortunately, are being watched, and people are coming over here, and it's supply and demand. There is no housing here. They have a big shortage of
supply and
housing
demand,
here.
yeah.
It's supply and demand.
And I'm the only guy that I know of. I don't go to Walking Street. Now, there's a handful of bloggers that do nothing but Walking Street. I don't go there. I don't talk about relationships on my channel. I just talk about life here. And I'm going to be doing there's, I think, 6 UNESCO World Heritage Sites in the Philippines. 3 of them are within a couple of 100 miles of where I live.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'm going to be doing a lot of videos. Baguio, 68 degrees year round.
That's
It's like a
wonderful.
miniature San Francisco.
We're in the 90s today. It's humid too. It's hot.
It's like a miniature San Francisco back when I was there. And I mean, there's 2 universities there. The average age is under 25 years old.
Oh, wow.
So many college students. There's 7 nights a week. You can go out at midnight and there's street food, like 100 booths in this area. There's ukay till 2:00 in the morning, 7
Really?
days a week.
That's
So
cool.
you get up in the morning, you go out to Burnham Lake, Swan boats flying all over the place, people out walking, jogging, Zumba classes. It's just an amazing place.
Yeah.
And so you decide, I want to go to the beach today. Okay, well, you hop a bus and 40 minutes later, you're on the ocean, because Baguio is a mile high. And down at the bottom of the hill and a little bit north to the right is La Union, which is San Juan, which is the number 2 surfing spot in the Philippines.
Oh, really? Wow.
So you have a younger crowd, surfing crowd that is there. It's second to Siargao. So this is all like you never hear about it because bloggers don't cover it because they're down in Visayas area. But
Right.
there's so much up there too.
Mm. Well, that sounds nice. I'm gonna have to check it out. I definitely have to check.
Then
I just don't travel much. I like.
well, but if you guys want to come, you can stay at my place and anywhere Baguio.
We're all showing up.
Uh,
You got 20,000.
well, nobody. I'm not putting on Airbnb, so the only way to rent that is to say, "Hey, I saw it. I want to rent it for how much for a few days." You know,
Right. Yeah.
and
Awesome.
you're a $10 ride to the airport, international airport. You want to go in the other direction, you're 35. You're probably a $15 ride from the Subic International Airport. You want to go to Manila, 90 miles away. That's the Manila Airport. I mean, transportation, and I have to walk. If I don't call a jeepney or a truck to pick me up, I have to walk about 60 yards, and then whatever goes by, I flag the first thing, trike, whatever it is. I can call a Grab; they'll come pick me up. So
All right.
anyway,
We're getting
get
kind of
off to
long.
it.
I'm sure it's getting a little long for.
No.
But thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the conversation, and it's
I do love the Philippines. I particularly like Dumaguete because I have a lot of older friends here. We get
absolutely.
together. We have real expats here. I like helping the kids. I get to talk to people like you. You know, you're a real expat. And I don't know. There isn't too much negative here. To be honest with you, I just like it. If I had a negative, and it's not worth complaining, but it's heat and humid, hot and humid. Um,
Oh, we lived
oh
in
well,
Las
that's
Vegas.
Florida.
Yeah, we lived in Las Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah, but Las Vegas isn't as humid.
Yeah.
This is definitely Florida weather. If you come from Florida, you'll be right at home.
Technically, the average humidity where I live is 78 to 80, and Florida is 85 on average humidity.
Right.
There's 26 states in America that have humidity average of what my humidity is in Luzon or worse.
It gets very hot in Las Vegas.
One thing I'd like to
Horribly hot. I
one
will say
thing I'd
that.
like to say in closing here is that Goldfinger is a wealth of information. He has a
Thank you.
free ebook, which is I mean, is he's really done an amazing job of that. I'm gonna put the. Do you want to
Link.
say what your channel is?
Yeah, it's Gold. Well, for the book, it's Goldfinger the Goldman 3 at gmail.com. And if they send a request to go to that email, I will email them back a free book. There's no charge, it's about 45 pages. It goes into what you need to do before you come here, uh, everything, pack, how to get cheaper flights, what you need to do online before you get here to save you trouble or time. You need an exit ticket, so it shows you where to go to get one for like $8 to $10 versus buying an actual round trip ticket. There's a lot of advice there. And then the YouTube channel I have is the 1 Minute Goldfinger. So the 1 Minute Goldfinger is only a month old. I think I have less than 10 videos up. I'm sure you have hundreds.
But I would suggest if you're thinking of coming to the Philippines, to do yourself a favor, subscribe to his channel.
The Goldfinger 1 minute. Yeah.
And do yourself a favor. If you're thinking about coming, you're going to need to watch that channel. It's a very important channel to watch. And you're going to have a wealth of information, the ebook, because his ebook covers so many questions that I get asked on my channel from you guys that I just don't know the answer to. And he's researched them.
I researched. I got a lot of people give me feedback. I ask them, hey, what was involved with that SRRV? What is the Ballot Beyond thing? What's the K1, the 13A? And so it has a lot of information on there. It's about how to get permanent citizenship here, marrying a Filipino, what you need to go through, how you could check on their status, things like that.
He knows the restaurants, he knows the attorneys, he knows just a
I
whole lot
rate
of things.
restaurants and I rate hotels, and I chose a dozen good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of very valuable information that I get asked all of the time. It's all part of his ebook. He'll send it to you. You can watch the interviews and learn a tremendous amount.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
So
It's been a pleasure.
I
Thanks
was
for having me
excited
on
to
your
have you on my
channel.
channel.
Yeah, that's cool. We haven't done this in over a year.
I think
Figure it out.
the last time I interviewed you, the audio did not turn out, so I still have it.
And that's right. You never put it up. So
Yeah. So this I'm excited about.
okay, this will be good audio. I guarantee
Thank
it.
you guys so much for tuning in and watching to the end. Subscribe to his channel, please. I assure you, you will not be sorry.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe to your channel as well.
Yeah.
Always got to say like, share, and subscribe.
Hopefully, by the time you see this, I have 20,000. I only needed
Oh, I'm
11
sure
as
you
of
have it
this
already
morning.
by this point. It
Yeah.
was only 10 or 11 off. So,
And I'm in this wonderful studio. This is the coolest studio I've been in since I've been to the Philippines. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much.
'Cause I found my way. I found my way. In bad times, I know I'll be okay.